Welcome to the Magnet Pool, where we dive into Miami-Dade's most innovative and creative magnet programs that truly make Miami-Dade County Public School your best choice in education. I'm your host, Dr. Magda Castro-Pereira, Administrative Director in the Office of Innovation and School Choice. And we're back with Season 2 of the Magnet Pool. We're excited to kick off Season 2 by bringing more stories about our schools and our programs and really highlighting those pathways that are available for all of our families across our district. Today, we're going to take a deep dive into the magnet world, where we're going to focus on, we're launching our open application season next month. And with me today, I have two directors from the Office of Innovation and School Choice. And with their knowledge, we're just going to jump right into the conversations about all the things about magnet. For example, what can you expect in magnet programs? What's new? And why is it now the perfect time for you to begin to explore those possibilities? Hi, Jackie.
Hi.
Hi, Christina. How are you? Thank you for joining me today. Listen, it's important for us, right, to educate our communities and our parents about magnet programming. From a parent's perspective, we hear choice, we hear magnet, right? So for families that may be new to this type of concept, how can we explain it? How can we break it down more for parents to truly understand what magnet programming is in Miami-Dade County?
I think one of the things when we go out recruiting into the community is specifying between choice and magnet. A lot of parents want to ask, like, what is that? Oh, that has a choice program. And which one, what does differentiates between choice and magnet? And I think the key difference is in a magnet program, the curriculum builds, where the student starts off learning level 1 information. So if it's a dance program, they're learning pirouettes, and by their next 3 years, now they're doing full-blown performances and can speak the language of dance. And so I think that it's very important for our parents to understand that magnet curriculum builds, and it builds over time. And it's not just an elective course, because any school can have that.
Right.
Absolutely.
And, it's important to say to our parents that magnet curriculum does stand out, right? So when we say about standing out, what does that mean to our parents? I want them to understand that when they're going to these tours, right? Because all of our magnet schools have tours, right? What does it stand out? What stands out from those magnet programs that really is going to draw those kids in?
I think you were talking about just having choices and what's the difference between choice and magnet. And we pride ourselves on being a choice district and providing choices, right? When it comes to education, we know the educational landscape has changed so much, right? Especially in the last couple of years, families have choices. They know that they have choices. So within Miami-Dade County Public Schools, families do have the choice to select their neighborhood school. They can choose to select a different school that's not their neighborhood school, which is what we call those choice programs, right? They're making these choices for these special programs. But then we have these magnet programs that you're saying, like, the curriculum does build. And I really think what really stands out for me when I'm talking about magnet, when I'm, choosing magnet for my child, is the fact that it's really integrated throughout that school day. We know kids do better, are more successful when they're excited about coming to school. Like I think about my child, he just started kindergarten. It's so important for him to feel like he belongs, for him to enjoy what he's learning, because that's going to set him up, right, through that educational journey. So, you mentioned this dance program, Christina, and I feel like I've witnessed it myself, where I've been at one of our fine arts schools and I've been in a history class, and I always use this example, but it's like the assignment, the teacher may be teaching about a battle in history, and the assignment is that the kids that are in the music program are going to create a song with lyrics about this battle in history, and the kids that are in that production program are going to do all of the production back end. And the kids that are in the theater program at that school are going to do the acting in that video. And they're going to come together using their talents, their passions, what they love and what they're learning through our magnet programs, and really generalize it throughout the school day, throughout the curriculum, to really set them up for success. So if you were to ask me, that's how I feel like Magnet really stands out.
And I think that's a great analogy, because that's exactly what we see in our classrooms, right? And in our Magnet programs. That's what really stands out. It's really interdisciplinary. You're taking your Magnet programming skills and you're applying them, right, across the curriculum. And that just leads straight into, like, for example, Miami-Dade County Public Schools, we all know, has a plethora of educational opportunities. We have a portfolio that is second to none. That's why Miami-Dade County Public Schools is your best choice for education. Absolutely, hands down. However, our Magnet programs are very popular because we earn so many distinctions and awards, right? Magnet Schools of America is a national organization that oversees thousands, countrywide, nationwide, thousands of Magnet programs. And we in Miami-Dade County Public Schools are very fortunate to have stellar Magnet programs that are led by stellar administrators and taught by stellar teachers and amazing stellar students that really drive why we earn so many degrees, 710 to be exact, in 13 years. So for a parent who's searching for these, exploring all of these opportunities and possibilities out there, right, we need to talk and kind of like bring down and educate our parents, like, what are these distinctions? What do they mean?
So right now we are currently in the Merit Awards season. We coined it that at our office, and our schools, we have over 100 schools that apply to the Magnet Schools of America Merit Award. And there are two distinctions, a School of Excellence and a School of Distinction. And what this does is they provide a snapshot of the amazing things that are happening, where it's innovation, it's equitable access, it's parent involvement, community involvement. Because another thing that is very important to Magnet Schools is having an industry partner. So we have these schools that do these amazing things, that they're partnered with national parks, or they're partnered with Fairchild Tropical Gardens, or, and they have that partnership, and our students get this hands-on learning. And so these Merit Awards, which last year we had 93 awards. Shameless plug for our office.
Yes, of course.
So they use that information, and it is amazing that this is not happening across the nation. We sit in these meetings and we hear about what's happening, and Miami-Dade is just decades away from what these other schools are doing. Right. And so the Merit Award, it shows that not only are we amazing here in our own community, but we have top schools across the nation. And that is what's important, because, with that FOMO, we get fear of missing out on something because, I don't live over there, or what's going on over there. But you don't have to when you're in Miami. When you have Miami, you have the choices, especially to join a school that has what's known as a National Merit Award.
So I think it's important for our parents really to understand that when they see all of these distinctions and accolades that these Magnet programs earn, right? And they earn by applying for them and really competing nationwide, right? For these amazing awards. Like, what does that mean about the work that's being done inside those classrooms?
And that's what Jackie was talking about, is that Magnet theme and integration. So we do have the English teacher. So I have one of our schools, the English teacher is reading a Shakespearean play. And so then the drama teacher jumps in and is like, you know what, let's actually put on a production. And then all of a sudden their TV production kids are filming it. And we have a lot of schools that bring the whole school together and to give this a learning experience that you couldn't have at any other school. Let's say that we have a partnership with the police at one particular school, and they'll do a crime scene investigation, and all of their kids will jump in, and this is the lawyer that's defending it, and this is the police officer that arrested. And it's these schools have the capability to kind of bring in all of the different curriculum, meeting benchmarks, meeting standards, and still excelling, because our Magnet schools have the top reading and math scores and science scores. Right. So it's because of that Magnet theme implementation.
And it's evident, right? And I think, I've said this so many times, and we talk about it all the time in our office. It really takes a village, right, to raise a child. And I think that when the child is motivated, has that passion, and is going to school to learn and cultivate those skills, right, that they want to excel in, it just spirals into across all of the curriculum. And that's where we see that academic excellence, right? So we all, obviously, in Miami-Dade County strive for academic excellence. We are an A district, but we do see that so much because the students are so vetted into what they're learning every single day that it sets the bar way high, right? So the district has a plethora, right? And we said of portfolio, which is an educational opportunities and possibilities for every single child, right? But what does magnet programs do for those children? You know, we have 121 schools, over 450 magnet programs. Wow, that's amazing, right? If a parent hears that, they're like, oh my goodness, there is a program for everyone. And as a parent of 4 who all graduated from magnet programs, I can say there is a program for everyone because every child is different, right? But like we start from pre-K. And we have programs from pre-K all the way up to 12th grade, right? So many themes, right? To meet the needs of everybody.
11 themes of study. Yeah.
11
themes. So obviously a lot of programs to choose from, a lot of interest to determine. And I think it gets tricky when you're talking about maybe students starting that educational journey. Like, I don't know what my child's interested in. Right. I don't know what's gonna make them want to come to school, right? And obviously, when they're younger, our programs tend to be a little bit more global in nature. So you might have, you know, STEM or STEAM programs that cover all the sciences and cover and integrate the arts. And then as you move through the grades and you progress through the different school configurations, they get a little bit more focused. But yeah, we do have programs for everyone. The easiest way is to really kind of determine what theme your child probably would fit into, and then kind of start that school search journey, which we know starts so early on from when a family's actually, you know, ready to commit. So I think it's great that we're back for season 2, bringing all these stories to the community, but also the fact that, yeah, I know we're in September and the school year just started, but guess what? So does the school search for next year.
And it's not only that, parents are shopping for their educational experience for their child way before they even need to get to that level, right? And, you know, as I said, we start from pre-Ks, right? So we have parents, like, once they're pregnant, they're already thinking, where am I going to put my child in school? And that, listen, that's part of parenting, right? And that's the major decision that we have to make, right? So to have these magnet programs available for them from pre-K all the way through 12th grade. And, you know, you said something interesting about start exploring these possibilities. But hey, you know, I had 4 children. One thought he wanted to be an attorney, and he's not an attorney. He's a chef. You know, the other one wanted to be in medicine, and she was in medicine the whole time, right? The other 2 wanted to be sports players, and, you know, there wasn't a magnet for sports, but they had to go through the academic route. But there is a program for everyone, right? So it doesn't matter where you live to apply for a magnet program. And I think we need to break that down for parents, because everybody thinks that maybe the magnet program is the one that's in my boundary, but we need to break it down for parents so that they can truly understand, right? As we launch the application, right? October 1st. October 1st. And parents are shopping way in advance, multiple years in advance. So let's talk a little bit about, let's break it down, right? For a parent.
So I think the first thing for families that are listening and viewing, or maybe hearing about magnet for the first time, and now we've hooked them on by explaining what this is, you do need to apply to be considered for a magnet program, right? So there is an application process, and that opens October 1st. And there's different criteria for different programs, right? So that is research that families have to do on the back end to determine whether their child or their student is the right fit for that magnet program.
And I think that checking out their social media pages, checking out their school websites, definitely going on a school tour, because when you walk into a building, that is where you feel like, yes, my child can be here. And we advocate for our students, for our schools, to make sure that they have their ESE chair present there for the parents to know that ESE does not determine whether or not a child gets into a magnet program. As long as they have, if it's a specialized curriculum, you know, yes, have the credentials. But for the most part, like, all schools are accessible to all children. And it's very important to know that. And I think that when they start shopping, when they start looking, I feel like we have School Finder, right? They can go onto our website, our district website, and start, picking and choosing what they're looking for. Some parents already have it in mind. My child's going to be a doctor, and so here's the STEM. Let's start STEM. Right?
Yes.
I attempted that. My child decided to be an actor, so there goes that idea. Yeah. But the beauty is that she has the ability to start her VPA process from elementary to middle to high school. Like, we have that stream. So if my child doesn't change her mind, maybe she will, maybe she won't. Either way, that she'll have that clear path. And I think those pathways are important that's also important for parents to know that, like, if I start this program, is my kid going to have somewhere else to go afterwards, or where do they go? And so being knowledgeable about not only where they start, but where they can go. And when we're out recruiting, we also let parents know, think of where your job is, think of where, what's on your way.
You don't have to go just based on your boundary. And you bring up a really good point that, there are curricular pathways. And I know that in our work that we do in magnet programming in Miami-Dade County Public Schools, what we do is that we build those curricular pathways intentionally designed for the students to continue their passions and their talents. But hey, it's like my children, right? They went for one, and then in middle school, they were like, oh, I don't want to do this anymore. I want something else. There is opportunities, possibilities to venture out and learn another trade or go into the talent scheme, right?
Absolutely. And I think to add to that, it's important to know that because we are a public school system, all of this is provided free of cost.
Oh, yes.
Right? So, we have students that know they want to get into medicine or they want to get into vet science, and they continue that pathway, and they can graduate with industry certifications that are free of cost to the family, right? There's students that graduate with full paid scholarships, or even with AA because of our advanced academics programs. And also I wanted to kind of point, if a student they have the ability to kind of change their path along the way, but maybe it's a student that really loves to dance, but they're not going to be a dancer. Like, they don't want to be a dancer. But we've seen where kids get excited about coming to school because they're with a community of peers that are sharing in that interest. They're learning confidence. They're learning how to be in front of a group of people, and then they generalize that throughout the school day. And it could be that, again, they're not going to graduate and go to, dance school, but they're going to learn so many skills along the way. And the fact that they want to be in school because they're learning what they love or what they're interested in really helps them succeed.
Exactly. And listen, at the end of the day, right, we're raising our future leaders of tomorrow, and we need to equip them with those 21st century skills to be able to be global citizens and be able to be successful post secondary, right? We want them to graduate from Miami-Dade County Public Schools ready and career and college ready, and that is our goal. And if it is to give them a well-balanced approach of skills, then so be it. But I know in magnet programming, we really try to instill all of those 21st century soft and hard skills, right? There's a 100%. Difference. But it's about articulating. It's about being a global citizen. It's about saying this, advocating for yourself and saying, this is what I really love to do, and have the platform to do so. Right? Now, the application is a window, right? But what happens after the window? So we open up October 1st and we end January 15th.
Right.
So then what the parents...
They hold their breath.
Yes. They wait. They sit and wait.
They hold their breath.
Light a candle.
They light a candle, they hold their breath, and then they find out, I believe, March 15th. March 15th results are come out into their email, and that's when they get to see, we're able to apply. They're able to apply up to 5 schools, and so they get to see either whether they've been accepted, I don't know the other terms, waitlisted, and then the parent can choose what was best for their child. And again, like her whole thing is innovation in school choice, right? And so we're trying to make little innovators. We're trying to have the parents know that they have choices and they have the opportunity to exposure, right? For students to be able to see themselves in this particular arena. And so that is what all of this really is about, because when the students can see themselves progressing into to what they want to become, that is what we advocate for. And so I think that once they get that decision, and then like the mommies, you know, hold their breath and the daddies pace around. Like it's like a new baby coming.
We know.
Yes.
We know.
Yes.
We talk to many parents. You know that. So let's talk a little bit about how many choices do these parents have, right?
Yes.
Because a lot of new parents apply for magnet programming, but there's many that are already in magnet programming, let's say in elementary or in middle school, and now they're applying to high school. They understand the process. But for the parents coming in new to Miami-Dade County Public Schools, or those that are in a traditional setting, right? How many do I have to apply only for one school?
Right.
Or there's many opportunities? So as we continue saying, there's many choices here in Miami-Dade County Public Schools.
Yeah, so I think it's important to note, like you mentioned, there's a whole application period beginning October 1st through January 15th. So families have a good period to do that in. And with one application, which is the magnet application, they're able to select up to 5 different choices, right? So they can select 5 programs at 5 different schools to just, you know, increase their chances, because we know that there's very popular schools out in the community that have a high number of applicants. And we don't want families to be so committed to that one choice and just put all their eggs in that basket. So we really encourage families, apply to 5. You're able to select 5. Why not select 5 and then see where you land? And then, you know, once that notification comes out, like you were saying, Christina, on March 15th, you know, there's different options. You may be offered a seat, which you can go ahead and accept. You might be waitlisted. And the good thing is that if you accept an offer, but you're waitlisted to say your school, your number one choice, you stay on that wait list until a space becomes available.
And I think that's important to highlight. And we will continue to highlight this throughout all of our other sessions here on the Magnet Pool, because I think it's very important for parents to understand that there's still wait lists. There is still hope, right? There could be a possibility that you will be able to land a seat if there's seat availability at that specific school.
That happened to your daughter.
100%. And I say it all the time, and I use my daughter as an experience, right? She really wanted to be in a medical program, and she did it. She got accepted into another high school. She started there. She was there for 3 months, and then she received that offer. And yes, we had a very difficult decision to make at that point.
You're committed.
Because you're committed already to a school. But hey, at the end of the day, it worked out for her. And, you know, we want our students to be happy. And at the end of the day, as a parent, right, and educator, it's important for the students to feel good and proud of where they're at, because when they feel like they belong in that program, when they belong in that school, and that's what magnet programming is all about, right? Is that culture, that, you know, school culture that really brings everybody together, and it's evident. So we do want to mention that we do have several programs in the 11 themes that you have to audition and you have to test for. So that's a difference, right? So in the exploring of possibilities for our parents, they need to be mindful that you might have to schedule an audition or a test for any language proficiency exam.
Right. So the majority of our fine arts programs do require those auditions. And that's part of that eligibility criteria that I briefly mentioned, right? So you're going to complete the application. They're going to make sure that they meet certain eligibility based on academics or conduct or absences, but there is that extra layer where the families will need to attend that audition. If they fail to do so, they're automatically disqualified. Then we also have our international studies programs. And we have many language programs across the district where children have the opportunity to be exposed and learn a second or third language, but specifically our more rigorous language immersion programs, right? Where kids are maybe immersed in a second language for 2.5 hours a day. Those require a proficiency test beginning in 2nd grade. So important for families to know that if their student is going into 2nd grade or above into one of these programs, there is a test that is part of that eligibility criteria.
Right. And it's so important because during the application process, the parents do select the specific date based on their availability, because they're not always going to be available for every audition or test date, right? So they select it based on their own schedule, right?
And I want to say something before you move on with that. When they're in that application, if they don't submit that application, they don't secure the date. So it could be that I start the application and I say, you know what, Friday the 11th is a great day for me, but I don't hit submit. I don't reserve that spot essentially. So, you know, being mindful that you have to submit to secure that spot. And the good thing is that you can edit your application, right? So January 15th.
Absolutely. So we strongly encourage our parents, once you explore your possibilities and identify those 5 magnet programs you want to apply for, to submit their applications, right? Because you can always, as a parent, go change your mind all the way up through January 15th. So I can go back, as you know, students talk to friends. Oh, I applied for this program. I applied for that program. They might want to change their mind, which is okay. It's all about choices. That's why Miami-Dade County Public Schools is your best choice. Right. And we want to make sure that the students are happy so they can go submit and then go back and revise their application all the way up through January 15th, at which point then your options are locked down. Right. So we always close with this question, okay? Not to put you guys on the spot, but what is it about the magnet programs that truly draw students in? I know there's a lot of reasons, right?
Yeah. I mean, I would say just the opportunity, right? The opportunity to be exposed to this area of study, the opportunity that you mentioned community partners and industry partners and having that exposure and that hands-on learning that takes place, right, beyond a textbook. And then also just like, you know, as they progress while they're graduating, whether it's certifications or scholarships or different opportunities that do become available because of these magnet programs, how intentional they are when we develop them, right? We're really looking forward and we're thinking, what do our kids need now to be ready for that future, like you were mentioning, Magda? And I think that's what the opportunity that our programs do provide.
I think our magnet programs build up confidence in our children. And I can speak from my daughter's experience, that she is a shy child. Like, my child didn't speak to her grandparents until she was 5, kind of shy. And now she wants to be an actor. And just the exposure of learning drama, learning theater, it just built in her a confidence that you can't bottle that. You can't, that is what magnet programs do, because they're not just taking a class on one thing and never see it again. This is something that they're building on. And the more you build in the child, the more empowered they feel outside of the classroom. And I think that is what magnet schools do, is that they give them something, and they might not follow it along. They might use that. I had one parent tell me that their child was in drama and then they went into law school because now they can stand in front.
They can stand in front of
it, you know, they're a trial lawyer. They can stand in front of it. And so when we think about it, I think that magnet schools, what they do is they empower our children to feel that they can do something. That's it. Like, they can do something, and it's more than what the outside world may say of them. That they have something that they can hold on to and say, "This is what I am. I'm more than whatever the others may see," because I've learned. I mean, we've got kids Shark tagging, like, that's crazy talk.
I know. I know. But that's why magnet programming at Miami-Dade County Public Schools is your best choice for education. I mean, we have so many reasons why magnet programming draws students into our educational programming, and it's evident, right, by all of the awards and accolades that Miami-Dade County receives from Magnet Schools of America. There's something great in the sauce that we're doing, but we're not going to share all the secrets, but our students are the secrets. Our teachers are the secrets. That's what really makes it, right, in magnet programming. So thank you, guys. It's been a pleasure. As we heard today, magnet programs offer students in Miami-Dade County Public Schools pathways to explore, to build their real world skills and really prepare our students for future careers and success. While the application period does not open up until October 1st, this is the perfect time for our parents and our families out there to explore those possibilities of educational programs that magnet programming has, as well as all of the other choices in Miami-Dade County Public Schools, which makes Miami-Dade County Public Schools your best choice. To learn more about the application and to begin the application process, you can visit us at miamimagnets.org. We do have step-by-step instructions for parents, and we will continue to guide you all the way through the application process. A big thank you to our listeners and our viewers out there, and a special thank you to Miami Community News for affording us this platform to bring our educational stories to you, our listeners. And that is it for this episode. Keep being drawn to what inspires you, and we'll see you next time on the Magnet Pool.